Steve, how was practice today, and did Andrew participate?
Andrew practiced. We'll see how he comes out after today. We scrimmaged quite a bit and got after it a little bit. So he looked good, but we'll keep him as questionable for tomorrow based on how he responds to the workload.
What were the goals of the scrimmaging?
Late game execution, situational stuff, just trying to take advantage of the time now. One game in a whole week. Pretty rare to get this situation, so we're working on a lot of situational stuff that hopefully can help us close these games.
What are you, when you go over looking at your fourth quarters, what are you seeing? I know we've talked about needing to get organized and stuff, but what are you seeing as the reason for this? Because, looking at the numbers, you guys have been in the fourth quarter, it's been pretty rough.
Yeah, it's been rough. So, not getting organized well enough. I think we're playing slower too. I think our pace is down. Last game it felt like we were trying to bleed clock with 3 minutes left, and we got to keep the pace going and get a good shot rather than try to run the clock out.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but last year it seemed like the late collapses were more a matter of defense and not being able to get stops. This seems to be more like offensive related.
For sure.
And is that, besides getting organized, is that just taking the wise usage of the 24-second clock, or what are you seeing there in terms of that?
Well, number one, I would much rather have it this way than last year. I think if you can get stops down the stretch, it's a lot easier to win games than if you're relying on just outscoring people. So I love where our defense is. We're fourth in the league, even in this stretch of the last 10 games where we're 3-7. Our defense is top 5 in the league during that stretch. So this is all about our offensive execution, combinations, lineups, lineup construction. I've said this the last few weeks, but when we don't play with as much pace, then we get a little bit exposed in terms of the combinations that we're playing. There might be a lineup that doesn't have enough shooting. Maybe there's a lineup that doesn't have enough, athleticism or defensive prowess. So we're mixing and matching quite a bit, probably more than I ever have in 10, 11 years here.
It sounds like you're patching it together because obviously we go back to DeAnthony going out, but yeah, that changed everything.
Changed everything. DeAnthony was the guy who could help get us organized offensively as a secondary ball handler, pick and roll guy, but also be an on-ball defender, spot-up shooter. We're mixing and matching around his absence for sure. But as I've said many times, I love the guys on this team, on this roster. I think we have a lot of depth. And yes, we're mixing and matching, but that's what is required right now, and that's what we're going to continue to do.
When you open the season, you had JK at the 3, giving him a chance at the 3 with Draymond and Trace, but you had Wiggins in the backcourt, if I remember correctly. Is that an option still at some point, or is that experiment done?
Everything's an option. There's always options, but I can tell you that JK at the 4 makes way more sense to me because if we have Draymond at the 4 and either Trace or Loon at the 5, which is what I want to do. Draymond is at his best at the 4. He is, I think, the world's best defender. And when you put him at the 4, he can do everything. If you put him at the 5, he's got to take on a huge responsibility. You could see it the other night, having to guard Şengün the entire game, down on the block. That takes a lot out of him. And then at the other end, he's the fulcrum of the offense as the 5-man in the way we play out of our delay actions, and he's at the top. It's a lot. It's a lot of responsibility. I think having Draymond at the 4 and either Trace or Loon at the 5 is our best bet to have a consistently good two-way team. But that's tricky because it negates some of the minutes for other guys at other positions.
With all that being said about Draymond, how does it impact you on offense and defense when you have to bring him off the bench? So
When I have to bring
when you bring Draymond off the bench and
Yeah.
start Loon along with Kuminga,
Right.
or somebody else,
Yeah.
how does it impact your offense and defense?
Well, it hurts our defense for sure because Draymond, as I said, I think he's the best defender in the NBA. And so if we don't start him, he's not on the other team's best player. He's not, there for the first 6 minutes setting a tone. On the other hand, he's probably going to still play the same minutes. It's just a different look. Draymond's been good on offense at the 4. He has shot the ball well the last 2 years, so he ends up with more 3-point shots, more corner threes. But I don't mind it at all. Like I just think that we're a little better two-way team when he's at the 4 rather than when he's at the 5.
Going back to pace for a second, the team's doing things to take away your pace. It felt like there was more pace at the beginning of the year. What has slowed that throughout the game?
Well, Houston really, they're very athletic at every position. They can really pressure you, and they've got us into a little bit of a rush. So pace is relative. It's the old John Wooden line: be quick, but don't hurry. You can't hurry, but you've got to get the ball up the floor. And get to your spots. I say it all the time. If we don't get our spacing right, it's hard to play with pace because then all of a sudden the outlet pass isn't right. The pass that the ball handler's expecting isn't there. Now the possession comes to a halt. So a big part of pace is spacing, but it's also decision making. I thought our decision making the other night was really poor.
Do you still think you have enough shooters to play four out at times?
No. So
For the first couple of weeks, it looked like maybe, but now that's changed.
yeah, I mean, like I said, we're not built that way, so I don't really worry about it. But I'm just answering your question. We're not a 4-out team, a 5-out team. We're a defensive-minded team. That's our identity. We're almost a third of the way through the season. We have the 4th-ranked defense that's held up. Like I said, even through the losses, the defense is held up. So our identity is a defensive-minded team, but our offense is much better when we can play with pace off of that defense. And, we've had this stretch. Shots haven't gone in like they did early in the season. But I think that's connected to pace. I think it's connected to the confidence that comes with playing fast. The beginning of this stretch when we started this 7 out of 9 losing stretch, shots weren't going in. I think we lost a little confidence, and we've also played some tough teams who are playing good defense, and it all makes sense. But we keep moving forward and keep trying to find answers. Huge. It's one of the best things Draymond does is the other team makes it and he gets it out quick and we race up the floor, into our offense. The thing that's interesting to me is every coach that I ever had, if he took an early shot in transition, every coach I ever had would say, it's a bad shot, you can always get that shot. What we've learned in the modern NBA is they were all lying. All my coaches lied to me. Coaches across the country were saying the same thing. You can always get that shot. Now, the difference is without a 3-point line, back then, to let my coaches off the hook and all those coaches back then, when the 3-point line wasn't as big of a deal, they might have been right. Like you could get a late clock shot, long-range shot, but it wasn't worth 3. So now that the 3-point line is such a big deal, the shot you want is the early 3 in transition or a layup in transition. And all the numbers show it. The first 8 seconds, points per possession across the league for every team is dramatically higher than the last 8. So playing with pace has huge advantages, the main one being defenses can't get set up.
When did your mindset shift on that? Just having it being drilled into you your whole life by coaches, and when did you discover that early shot is the right one?
When I started coaching Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. And it took me a little while because that had been ingrained in my head for forever. But yeah, a couple of months after I was coaching those guys, I realized, I'm on the bench. I'm going, man, that's a lousy shot from Steph. And it's like, oh, yeah, but he's shooting 43% on that shot, and they're three-point shots, points per possession, way up. So, yeah, those are good shots.
The shot that he took late in the game the other night, there were still people that he shoot too soon. And I'm wondering if, because you guys had a surprising number of shot clock violations in that game, if maybe that gets into your mind that we've had too many possessions where we didn't get a shot off at all. Could that be a factor in taking a shot at that point?
I don't think so. I think, Steph was just thinking, he had a clean look and he's made that shot a million times. And what makes Steph who he is he's fearless. And he's not a game manager. He's not a guy who's going to come down and he's a flamethrower. He's an assassin. And he knows that, and we've talked about it. He should have run the clock down, but I should have been screaming out there for him to do it too, and telling Loon to stay down and not come out on the screen. And so we're all at fault on that late game stuff. And again, you got to learn and you got to move on and you make sure you do it right the next time.
Have you ever been in a game? I can't remember coaching one, but played in a game where a team had so many shot clock violations over the course of a game?
No, that was the most. I think it was 4, and then
5, I think.
5, and then we had an 8-second violation. Then we had something else too.
You had 6 possessions that didn't get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we had, what I saw was 15 individual turnovers and 7 team turnovers, and I've never seen that. So give Houston credit for their defense. They put a lot of pressure on us, but there are ways we have to counter for sure.
Having seen Steph on the biggest stage perform, especially like in Paris, would you have wondered what it would have been like to see Steph in Vegas?
In the cup.
In a weird way, like people talk about, Vegas, the bad thing is it could take a lot out of the team.
Right.
But for you guys, maybe it might have jolted you guys the other way out of this.
We'll never know. Yeah.
Seeing Steph in Vegas on the big stage.
We all wanted that. We wanted to be there. We're disappointed we're not, but we're not. So we take advantage of the practice time and the rest and try to get right.
Did you hear from the league about your comments about the officiating?
Privately, yeah, but no, I'm not going to say anything about it publicly.
How's Moses doing?
And let me just say, I will say publicly, I am embarrassed about, anytime I criticize an official after the fact, I feel terrible. I'm embarrassed by it. So sometimes with these games, the emotion kicks in. You say things you regret. I wouldn't change anything about, complaining about the call, but Bill Kennedy's a great referee. Been in the league a long time. I feel good when I walk into the arena and I see Bill, and I feel lousy that I said what I said, afterwards, because he didn't deserve that, and that was my mistake.
How's Moses?
Moses did not practice today. He'll be out tomorrow.
Okay. Do we know if this is going to be a week-to-week thing or day-to-day thing? Or
Day-to-day, yeah. But aren't we all? Vince Scully.